Captain Jake Morrison sat in his chair on the bridge of the New Horizon. The small exploration ship was only 300 meters long, nothing special compared to the massive vessels that other spacefaring civilizations used. Jake looked out at the view screen and felt his heart race. 10,000 alien ships filled the space around Earth's moon, each one bigger than anything humans had ever built. "Sir, they're trying to communicate with us," said Lieutenant Amy Foster from her position at the communications station. Her voice was steady, but Jake could hear the nervousness underneath. "Put them through," Jake said. He straightened his uniform and tried to look confident. This was humanity's first contact with alien life, and somehow he was the one who had to handle it. The view screen flickered, and an alien face appeared. The creature had gray skin, 4 yellow eyes, and what looked like small horns on its forehead. When it spoke, the universal translator made its voice sound mechanical. "I am Admiral Vextar of the Zephyrian Empire. You will surrender your world immediately, or we will take it by force." Jake blinked. That was not how he had imagined first contact would go. "Admiral, I'm Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth vessel. New Horizon. We come in peace. Perhaps we can talk about this without any fighting." The alien's 4 eyes narrowed. "Talk? Where is your battle fleet? Where are your weapons platforms? Do you think this small ship can protect your world?" Jake looked around at his crew. There were only 12 people on the bridge, and they were all scientists and explorers, not soldiers. "Admiral, this is our response team. We'd like to invite you to formal diplomatic talks with our government." There was a long silence. Admiral Vextar leaned forward, studying Jake's face. "Response team? This tiny vessel is your military response to our invasion fleet?" "Well, not exactly military," Jake said. "We're explorers. Earth's government sent us to make contact and see if we can work out any problems peacefully." "Explorers?" The Admiral's voice got higher. "You sent explorers to meet an invasion force?" "We prefer to think of you as visitors," Jake said with a smile. "We don't get many people from other worlds. This is actually pretty exciting for us." Admiral Vextar sat back in his chair, looking confused. In 10,000 years of expansion, the Zephyrian Empire had never encountered anything like this. Every species they had met before fought back with everything they had. Some had massive fleets, others had powerful weapons, but all of them tried to destroy the Zephyrians when they arrived. "Captain Morrison," the Admiral said slowly, "how many ships does your world have?" "In space?" "About 47, I think," Jake said. "Most of them are research vessels like this one. A few are cargo ships for moving supplies to our moon base and Mars colony." The alien translator must be broken, Admiral Vextar thought. 47 ships for your entire world? "That's right," Jake said proudly. "Earth's been really focused on exploring our solar system. We've got people living on Mars now, and we're planning missions to Jupiter's moons. It's been amazing what we can learn out there." "And your weapons? Your orbital defense platforms?" Jake scratched his head. "We don't really have any of those. The New Horizon has some basic defensive systems, but nothing that could fight a ship like yours. We're not really set up for fighting." Admiral Vextar turned to his officers off-screen. Jake could hear them talking quickly in their own language, voices getting more excited. When the Admiral turned back, he looked even more confused. "Captain, are you telling me that your species reached space travel without building a military fleet?" "Pretty much, yeah," Jake said. "We had some disagreements on Earth in the past, but we sorted those out. Once we started working together, space exploration became our main goal. There's so much to discover out there." The Admiral stared at him for a long moment. "This is impossible. No species develops space travel without military conquest. You must be hiding your real fleet." "I promise we're not hiding anything," Jake said. "Look, why don't you send some representatives to Earth? Our president would love to meet you. We can show you around, and maybe we can figure out some kind of trade agreement or cultural exchange." "Cultural exchange?" Admiral Vextar repeated the words like they were in a foreign language. "Sure, we'd love to learn about your civilization. Your ships are incredible. The engineering alone must have taken centuries to develop, and you've obviously traveled between star systems, which we haven't figured out yet." The Admiral's officers were talking even faster now. Jake could see more alien faces appearing on screens behind the Admiral, all of them looking shocked and confused. "Captain Morrison," the Admiral said finally, "I need to speak with my superiors. But I warn you, if this is some kind of trick, if you're hiding a massive fleet somewhere, we will find it." "No tricks," Jake said honestly. "Just people who want to make friends." The screen went dark. Jake leaned back in his chair and let out a long breath. "Well, that could have gone worse," said Dr. Ben Clark from the science station. "They could have started shooting already." "Do you think they believed us?" asked Amy. "I don't think they know what to believe," Jake said. "Their whole approach is based on the idea that we're like them, that we got to space by fighting and conquering. The idea that we did it peacefully doesn't fit their worldview." Lieutenant Sam Davis looked up from his navigation station. "Sir, their ships are moving into a defensive formation around Earth. They're not attacking, but they're definitely not leaving either." Jake nodded. "They're probably trying to figure out where we're hiding our real military. It's going to take them a while to accept that this is it, that humanity really did reach space through cooperation instead of conquest." "What do we do now?" Amy asked. "We wait," Jake said. "And we hope that when they figure out we're telling the truth, they'll be interested in talking instead of fighting." Outside the New Horizon, 10,000 alien warships waited in the darkness, their crews struggling to understand how a species could reach the stars without first learning to destroy their enemies. President Lisa Rodriguez walked into the meeting room in Geneva, Switzerland. The room was normally used for international peace talks, but today it would host humanity's first diplomatic meeting with aliens. She felt nervous but excited. This was the most important day in human history. Across the table sat 3 Zephyrian representatives. The largest one was Commander Ziloth, who had 4 arms and skin that looked like gray metal. Next to him sat a smaller alien with 6 eyes, and the third one had what looked like crystals growing from its head. "Welcome to Earth, President," Rodriguez said with a warm smile. "We're honored to have you here." Commander Ziloth studied her carefully. "You are the leader of this world's warrior class?" "I'm the elected leader of Earth's government," she replied. "But we don't really have a warrior class anymore." The aliens looked at each other. The 6-eyed one spoke up. "Every civilization has warriors. Who leads your armies into battle? Who conquers new territories for your species? Secretary of Defense." Danny Cooper, sitting next to the president, leaned forward. "We don't conquer territories anymore. We explore new places, but we don't take them by force." "Explore?" Commander Ziloth's voice sounded confused. "You mean scouting missions before invasion?" "No, just exploring to learn," said Dr. Amanda Foster, Earth's lead scientist for alien contact. "We want to understand the universe. We study planets, stars, and now we're hoping to learn about other species like yours." The crystal-headed alien made a noise that the translator couldn't interpret. Commander Ziloth spoke again. "Dr. Foster, your species developed faster than light communication and space travel without conquering other worlds?" "That's right," Amanda said. "We developed those technologies through scientific research and cooperation between different nations on Earth." "Cooperation?" The 6-eyed alien leaned forward. "You mean temporary alliances before war?" "No, permanent cooperation," President Rodriguez explained. "About 100 years ago, we realized that working together accomplished more than fighting each other. So we stopped having wars and started sharing knowledge." Commander Ziloth stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see the city of Geneva, with people walking peacefully on the streets, children playing in parks, and no military checkpoints or armed guards anywhere. "This makes no sense," he muttered. "Show us your military academies. Show us where you train your soldiers for conquest." Danny Cooper looked uncomfortable. "Well, we do have military schools, but they're mostly for peacekeeping and disaster relief now." "Peacekeeping?" The crystal-headed alien's translator seemed to struggle with the word. "Yes, helping to solve problems without violence," Danny explained. "And disaster relief means helping people when natural disasters happen, like earthquakes or floods. You train soldiers to help people instead of conquering them?" Commander Ziloth turned around, staring at the humans. Our military is much smaller now, Danny continued. Most of our resources go to education, medical research, and space exploration. Dr. Amanda Foster pulled out a tablet and showed the aliens some pictures. These are our universities where we train scientists and engineers. This is our space center where we build exploration ships. And this is our medical research facility where we develop treatments for diseases. The aliens passed the tablet between them, looking at the images with growing confusion. The six-eyed one pointed at a picture of a university campus. These buildings are not fortified. Where are the weapons training grounds? The combat simulation centers? We don't really have those anymore, Amanda said. Students study mathematics, science, literature, art, and many other subjects, but not warfare. Art? Commander Zilloth seemed to taste the word. What is art? President Rodriguez smiled. Creative expression. Humans make paintings, music, sculptures, stories. We do it because it makes us happy and helps us understand each other better. You waste resources on happiness? The crystal-headed alien sounded shocked. We don't think it's waste, the president said. Happy people work better together. Art and music help us share ideas and feelings across different cultures. Danny Cooper decided to try a different approach. Commander, can you tell us about your military structure? We'd like to understand how your society works. Of course, Commander Zilloth said, seeming more comfortable with this topic. The Zephyrian Empire has conquered over 3,000 worlds. We have the strongest military in this part of the galaxy. Every citizen serves in the armed forces for at least 10 years. 3,000 worlds? Dr. Foster looked amazed. How do you manage so many different planets? Through strength, the six-eyed alien said proudly. We defeat the local species and make them work for the Empire. The strongest become warriors in our army. The rest provide resources and labor. President Rodriguez frowned. What about the people who were living on those worlds before you arrived? What happened to them? They serve the Empire now, Commander Zilloth said simply. That is how civilization spreads across the galaxy. The strong conquer the weak. But that means billions of people lost their freedom, Danny said quietly. Freedom is a luxury, the crystal-headed alien replied. Order and strength matter more. Dr. Foster leaned forward. Commander, what if I told you that humans believe freedom and cooperation are stronger than conquest? That is impossible, Commander Zilloth said firmly. No species can survive without dominating others. Your world must have secret armies, hidden weapons. You are testing us, trying to make us lower our guard. President Rodriguez shook her head. We're not testing you. We really do believe that cooperation works better than conquest. Our whole civilization is proof of that. Your civilization is tiny, the six-eyed alien pointed out. One world, 47 ships. The Empire has millions of ships and controls thousands of worlds. But are your people happy? Amanda asked quietly. The question hung in the air. The three aliens looked at each other, and for the first time, they seemed uncertain. Happiness is not important, Commander Zilloth said finally, but his voice lacked conviction. We think it is, President Rodriguez said gently. Happy people are more creative, more productive, and more willing to help each other. That's how we've accomplished so much with just one world. Commander Zilloth walked back to the table and sat down heavily. I must report these findings to the Emperor. He will want to investigate your claims personally. We'd be honored to meet him, the President said. We hope we can learn from each other. As the meeting ended, the aliens filed out silently, their worldview shaken by the impossible humans who claim to have reached the stars through peace instead of war. Emperor Thakron's massive flagship entered Earth's solar system 3 days later. The ship was the size of a small moon, with enough weapons to destroy entire planets. Inside the ship's command center, the Emperor studied the reports from his advanced team with growing disbelief. Are you certain about these findings? He asked Admiral Vextar, who stood nervously before the throne. Yes, my lord, the Admiral replied. We have scanned their entire world. No hidden armies, no orbital weapons, no slave labor camps. They appear to be telling the truth. Emperor Thakron was over 8 feet tall, with dark purple skin and golden eyes that seemed to glow. He had ruled the Zephyrian Empire for 300 years, conquering dozens of worlds personally. The idea that a species could reach space without conquest went against everything he believed. "Bring me to their surface," he commanded. "I will see this impossible civilization myself." Hours later, the Emperor's shuttle landed in Washington, D.C. He emerged wearing full battle armor, expecting to see defensive positions and armed guards. Instead, he found a small group of humans waiting on the landing pad, completely unarmed. Dr. Karen Williams, a historian from the Smithsonian Museum, stepped forward with a smile. "Your Imperial Majesty, welcome to Earth. We're honored by your visit." The Emperor looked around suspiciously. The humans had no weapons, no armor, nothing but casual clothing and friendly expressions. Behind them, the city stretched out peacefully, with no signs of military preparation. "Where are your guards?" he asked. "We don't need guards," Dr. Williams said. "You're our guest. We want you to feel welcome here." "Impossible," the Emperor muttered. He had never visited a world where the local population didn't either attack him or cower in fear. Dr. Williams led him to a vehicle that looked nothing like a military transport. It was comfortable and quiet, with large windows for sightseeing. As they drove through the city, the Emperor stared in amazement. "These people are not afraid," he said to his bodyguard, a large warrior named General Kriksta. "No, my lord," the general agreed, sounding confused. "They wave at us, children point, and smile. It makes no sense." Dr. Williams heard them and turned around. "Why would they be afraid? You're visitors from another world. That's exciting, not scary." "We are conquerors," the Emperor said bluntly. "We have destroyed entire civilizations." "But you're not destroying us," Dr. Williams replied calmly. "You're here to learn about us, right?" The Emperor didn't answer. He was too busy trying to understand what he was seeing. The city was clean and peaceful. People walked around freely, talking and laughing. There were no armed soldiers on the streets, no fortified buildings, no signs of oppression anywhere. Their first stop was the Smithsonian Museum. Dr. Williams led them through exhibits showing human history, from ancient times to the present day. The Emperor stopped in front of a display about World War II. "Here," he said, pointing at pictures of battles and weapons. "This is what I expected to find. Where is your current military technology?" "That war ended 80 years ago," Dr. Williams explained. "We learned from it. We decided that cooperation worked better than fighting." "You stopped fighting completely?" General Kriksta sounded shocked. "We still have disagreements," Dr. Williams admitted. "But we solve them through negotiation and compromise now, not violence." The Emperor studied photographs of soldiers and tanks from the old war. These warriors look capable. Where are their descendants? Where are the modern versions of these weapons? "The descendants became teachers, doctors, engineers, artists," Dr. Williams said. "We turned our weapons factories into schools and hospitals." "This is madness," the Emperor whispered. "A species cannot survive without constant warfare." "But we have survived," Dr. Williams pointed out. "And we've prospered. Our population has grown, our technology has advanced, and we've reached space. All without war." Their next stop was a university campus. Dr. Williams showed them laboratories, where students studied physics and chemistry. The Emperor expected to see weapons research, but instead found people working on medical treatments and clean energy sources. Professor Ben Clark met them at the physics building. "Your Majesty, we'd love to show you our research projects. We're working on faster space travel, better life support systems, and more efficient solar panels." "These are not military applications?" the Emperor asked. "No, these are for exploration and improving life on Earth," Professor Clark said. "We want to travel to other star systems to study them, not conquer them." The Emperor's golden eyes narrowed. "You expect me to believe you developed space travel just for studying?" "That's exactly right," Professor Clark said enthusiastically. "There's so much to learn out there. Different types of planets, New forms of energy, maybe even other forms, of life like yourselves. Other forms of life are enemies to be conquered or allies to be used, General Krixta said firmly. Or friends to be made, Professor Clark replied with a smile. Imagine what we could learn from each other. Your engineering skills, our scientific methods, sharing knowledge across the galaxy. The Emperor fell silent. In 300 years of rule, no one had ever suggested that aliens could be friends instead of enemies or servants. Their final stop was a children's hospital. Dr. Williams led them through wards where human doctors worked to heal sick children. The Emperor watched in confusion as medical staff worked tirelessly to save lives, expecting no reward except the recovery of their patients. These healers serve no military purpose, he observed. They serve a human purpose, Dr. Williams said, quietly. We believe every life has value. We try to protect and heal instead of destroy. A small human child, maybe 6 years old, approached the Emperor without fear. She looked up at his towering armored figure and said, "Are you really from space? That's so cool." The Emperor stared down at her. In his empire, children were taught to fear authority figures, to never speak unless spoken to. This child showed only curiosity and wonder. "Yes, I am from space," he said carefully. "What's it like out there? Are there other planets with trees and animals?" she asked. "There are many planets," the Emperor replied, his voice softer than usual. "Some have trees. Some have creatures unlike anything on Earth. I want to be a space explorer when I grow up," the child said. "I want to see other worlds and make friends with aliens like you." After she walked away, the Emperor stood in the hospital hallway for a long time, saying nothing. Dr. Williams watched him struggle with thoughts that challenged everything he had believed about civilization and progress. "Your Imperial Majesty," she said finally, "what do you think of our world?" The Emperor turned to her, his golden eyes troubled. "I think your world is impossible, and that terrifies me more than any weapon I have ever faced." The next day, Emperor Thakron demanded to see Earth's highest military commander. General Ryan Phillips met him at the Pentagon, the building that had once been the center of American military operations, but now served mainly as a historical site and small peacekeeping headquarters. "General Phillips," the Emperor said as they sat in a simple conference room, "I want to see your classified military files. Show me your real weapons, your invasion plans, your true military strength." General Phillips was a tall, gray-haired man who had served in Earth's last military conflicts 30 years earlier. He looked tired but patient. "Your Imperial Majesty, I'll show you everything we have, but I warn you it's probably not what you're expecting." He activated a holographic display that showed Earth's current military assets. The Emperor leaned forward, expecting to see vast armies and powerful weapons. Instead, he saw small peacekeeping forces, disaster response teams, and rescue equipment. "These numbers must be wrong," the Emperor said. "You show only 50,000 active military personnel for your entire world." "That's correct, General," Phillips confirmed. "Most of them are involved in peacekeeping missions, helping to prevent conflicts before they start." "Prevent conflicts?" The Emperor's translator seemed to struggle with the concept. "Yes. When groups disagree about something, we send mediators to help them find solutions that work for everyone. It's usually much more effective than fighting." The Emperor studied the holographic displays showing peacekeeping missions around Earth and in the small human colonies on Mars and the Moon. "What about your weapons development? Your new military technology?" General Phillips touched another control and the display changed to show research projects. "Most of our technology development goes toward improving space exploration, medical, treatment, and environmental protection." "Show me your most powerful weapons," the Emperor demanded. General Phillips hesitated, then brought up files showing Earth's remaining nuclear weapons. "These are left over from our old conflicts. We keep a small number for asteroid defense in case a large space rock threatens Earth." The Emperor stared at the display. The weapons were powerful enough to destroy cities, but there were only a few dozen of them, and they weren't even pointed at enemy targets. "You use planet-destroying weapons to protect your world from rocks?" "Large asteroids can cause mass extinctions," General Phillips explained. "We lost the dinosaurs that way millions of years ago. We want to make sure it doesn't happen to us." Dinosaurs? Large creatures that lived on Earth before humans evolved. You can see their bones in our museums. The Emperor fell silent, processing this information. In his empire, weapons existed only to kill enemies. The idea of using them to protect a world from natural disasters was completely alien to him. "General, how did your species develop space travel without military conquest?" he asked finally. General Phillips sat back in his chair. "We had plenty of conflicts in our history, Your Majesty. Wars, conquests, empires that rose and fell. But about a century ago, we realized something important." "What?" "Fighting each other was holding us back. Every war destroyed knowledge, killed potential scientists and inventors, wasted resources we could have used for progress. So we decided to try cooperation instead." "That's impossible," the Emperor said automatically, but his voice lacked conviction. "At first, many people thought so," General Phillips agreed. "But we started small. A few countries worked together on science projects. Then more joined in. Eventually, we realized we could accomplish amazing things when we shared knowledge, instead of fighting over it." Engineer Matt Davis entered the room carrying a tablet computer. "General, you wanted me to show His Imperial Majesty our ship designs?" "Yes, please do," General Phillips said. Matt activated the tablet, showing detailed blueprints of human spacecraft. The Emperor expected to see weapon systems, armor plating, and attack capabilities. Instead, he saw extensive life support systems, scientific laboratories, and communication equipment designed for long-range exploration. "These ships have no weapons," the Emperor observed. "They have basic defensive systems," Matt explained, "but they're built for exploration, not combat. We want to study other worlds, not conquer them." "How do you control the worlds you discover?" Matt looked confused. "We don't control them. We study them, learn from them, and leave them alone unless we find something that needs our help." "What about resources? How do you take what you need from other worlds?" "We don't take anything without permission," Matt said. "If we found another species, we'd ask if they wanted to trade with us. If they said no, we'd respect that decision." The Emperor stood up abruptly and walked to the window. Outside, he could see the city of Washington, with its monuments to human leaders and achievements. None of the monuments celebrated military victories or conquered enemies. Instead, they honored peace, freedom, and scientific progress. "This is not how civilizations work," he said quietly. "Strength comes from domination. Order comes from fear. Progress comes from taking resources from the weak. That's how your civilization works," General Phillips said gently. "But it's not the only way." Captain Susan Brooks entered the room, still wearing her spacesuit from a recent mission. "General, I just got back from the Europa research station. The ice samples show definite signs of microbial life." "Excellent news," General Phillips said. "Captain, this is Emperor Thakron, Your Imperial Majesty. Captain Brooks commands our furthest exploration mission." The Emperor turned to study the woman. She was small compared to his warriors, with no armor or weapons, but her eyes showed the confidence of someone who had traveled between worlds. "Captain Brooks, what is your mission?" he asked. "I command a team studying Jupiter's moon Europa," she said. "We think there might be living organisms in the ocean under its ice surface. We're trying to learn about them without disturbing their environment." "You travel to other worlds to study tiny creatures that cannot fight back?" "Every form of life teaches us something new," Captain Brooks said enthusiastically. "These microbes might hold clues about how life develops in different environments. That knowledge could help us understand life throughout the universe." "What do you do with this knowledge?" "We share it with everyone," Captain Brooks said simply. "All our discoveries go into public databases that any human can access. Scientists around the world use our findings to develop new medicines, better farming techniques, cleaner energy sources." The Emperor's golden eyes widened. "You give away your discoveries for free?" "Knowledge belongs to everyone," Captain Brooks said. "The more people who understand the universe, the better we can solve problems and make life better for all humans." The Emperor sat down heavily. In his empire, knowledge was power, and power was hoarded by the ruling class. The idea of giving away scientific discoveries was revolutionary. "Captain Brooks," he said slowly, "do you really explore space just to learn, with no intention of conquest or domination?" "That's right, Your Imperial Majesty. We explore because we're curious. We want to understand our place in the universe and maybe find others who share our love of discovery." The Emperor stared at her for a long moment. Then he turned to General Phillips. "General, I need to speak with your president again. There are questions I must ask, answers I must hear, even though I fear what they will mean for my empire." That evening, Emperor Thakron requested a private meeting with President Rodriguez. They met in the Oval Office with only Dr. Paul Grant, Earth's leading expert on alien cultures, present as a witness. The Emperor had dismissed his bodyguards and removed his armor, appearing almost vulnerable in his simple robes. "President Rodriguez," the Emperor began, his voice barely above a whisper, "I must ask you a question that has been troubling me since I arrived on your world." "Of course, Your Imperial Majesty. What would you like to know?" The Emperor's golden eyes met hers directly. "When your species first developed space travel, when you first left your world and traveled to other planets, you mean they didn't have a whole army?" President Rodriguez understood the weight of the question immediately. "No, Your Imperial Majesty. Our first missions to space were scientific expeditions with small crews of explorers and researchers." The Emperor's hands trembled slightly. "No invasion forces, no conquest fleets, no military campaigns to subdue other worlds?" "None," the President confirmed gently. "We went to space to explore and learn, not to conquer." The Emperor stood up abruptly and walked to the window, staring out at the peaceful city. "This changes everything," he whispered. Dr. Grant leaned forward. "Your Imperial Majesty, may I ask how your species first reached space?" The Emperor turned back to them, his face showing an expression that the humans had never seen before. Not anger or confusion, but something that looked like deep pain. "We built our first starships to escape our dying homeworld," he said slowly. "Our planet was torn apart by wars between different nations. The only way off-world was to build massive military vessels that could fight through enemy defenses." "That sounds like you had no choice," President Rodriguez said sympathetically. "But we did have a choice," the Emperor replied, his voice growing stronger with horror. "We could have stopped fighting and worked together like you did. Instead, we kept fighting even after we reached space." Dr. Grant nodded, understanding. "Your species carried the pattern of conflict into space exploration." "Yes," the Emperor said bitterly. "When we found other worlds with intelligent life, we conquered them because that was all we knew how to do. We told ourselves it was necessary, that the universe was hostile, that only the strong survived." "But you've survived and built a vast empire," President Rodriguez pointed out. "Built on the suffering of 3,000 conquered worlds," the Emperor said, collapsing back into his chair. "Dr. Grant, do you understand what your species has shown me?" "I think so, Your Imperial Majesty. We've shown you that peaceful space. Exploration is possible. You have shown me that every war my empire ever fought was a choice, not a necessity. Every world we conquered, every species we enslaved, every act of violence across 10,000 years, all of it was avoidable." The Tiwaro room fell silent. Outside they could hear the sounds of a peaceful city. Traffic, people talking, children playing. Sounds that didn't exist on any world in the Zephyrian Empire. "Your Imperial Majesty," President Rodriguez said carefully, "what will you do with this knowledge?" "I don't know," the Emperor admitted. "How can I return to my empire knowing that everything we built is based on a lie? How can I face the billions of beings we enslaved when I know we could have befriended them instead?" Dr. Grant spoke up. "Perhaps you don't have to return the same way you left." "What do you mean?" "You could change things. Start small, like we did. Find a few worlds in your empire that want to try cooperation instead of domination." The Emperor laughed bitterly. "Dr. Grant, my empire is built on military strength and fear. If I show weakness by promoting peace, my own generals will kill me and choose a new emperor. Then maybe you don't go back at all," President Rodriguez suggested quietly. The Emperor stared at her. You would grant asylum to a conqueror? To someone who has destroyed countless civilizations. We would grant asylum to someone who wants to change, she replied. Someone who has learned that there's a better way. But my empire will continue to exist with or without you, Dr. Grant pointed out. The question is whether you want to be part of the old system or help create something new. The Emperor stood up again and walked to a bookshelf, studying the titles. These books contain your history, your knowledge, your discoveries? Yes, President Rodriguez said, and they're available to anyone who wants to read them. In my empire, knowledge is controlled by the ruling class. Only military and technical information is shared, and only when necessary for conquest. Here we believe that shared knowledge makes everyone stronger, Dr. Grant explained. The Emperor pulled out a book about space exploration and opened it to a page showing pictures of Earth's first space missions. The images showed small crews of scientists and explorers, not armies of conquest. President Rodriguez, he said without looking up from the book, I have a confession to make. What is it, Your Imperial Majesty? When I first heard about your species, I was planning to add Earth to my empire. Your world would have become the 3001st conquest of the Zephyrian Empire. And now? She asked. The Emperor closed the book and turned to face them. Now I realize that conquering Earth would be like destroying a light in the darkness. Your species represents hope that the galaxy can be something better than an endless cycle of war and domination. What will you tell your fleet commanders? Dr. Grant asked. I will tell them that Earth is under my personal protection, the Emperor said firmly, and I will stay here to study your civilization, to learn how to build something better than an empire based on fear. President Rodriguez smiled. You're welcome to stay as long as you like, Your Imperial Majesty. We'd be honored to help you understand our way of life. 3 months later, news reporter Helen Wright stood outside the United Nations building in New York, speaking to cameras that would broadcast her words around the world. Today marks a historic moment for humanity, she said. Former Emperor Thakron of the Zephyrian Empire has been granted permanent asylum on Earth. In a joint statement with President Rodriguez, he announced the formation of the Galactic Peaceful Exploration Initiative. Behind her, a small crowd gathered around 2 figures walking together. A tall alien in simple Earth clothing and Captain Jake Morrison of the New Horizon. They were deep in conversation about plans for a joint human-Zephyrian mission to explore a nearby star system. The initiative's first mission will be a peaceful contact expedition to the Centauri system, Helen continued. For the first time in galactic history, an exploration fleet will travel to new worlds with the goal of making friends, not conquering enemies. As the 2 figures walked away, discussing the technical details of their upcoming mission, the former emperor looked up at the sky and wondered how many other species might be waiting out there, ready to learn that there was another way to reach the stars.